Welcome to the Scoop World Order Saturday Scrimmage edition. We have all the intel from what went on at the Woody Hayes today. It was Student Appreciation Day. A lot of eyes there, a lot of really good film, a lot of intel. So we're gonna get a little bit about what we've heard, some big time stuff, and then what we can make of it this far into spring. There's 1 week left. It has flown by, and we're getting into summer, folks. But we are gonna break all the stuff down again. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like. Click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys that are a huge part of our show each and every night. Again, we're a little earlier today on a Saturday with March Madness with the two Final Four games tonight. Knock this thing out. You guys can roll right into your evening. But we just appreciate you guys so much. If you guys want to do something huge for us, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts inside your podcast app on your iPhone. Super easy to do and something that really helps us out in a huge way. So with that being said, gonna bring in my good friend Nevadabuck, Nevada. This was it's a little turned up scrimmage, but again, there's always the hesitancy when you have the entire media conglomerate. You have all the students; they're all taking videos. You can't stop the kids from taking videos constantly. So, kind of a vanilla scrimmage of practice. I've seen a lot of video of it so far. A lot of crossing routes, a lot of short stuff. Basically, no running game because you can't tackle the running backs. Anyways, what are some of the things you've heard from the people that you've talked to that are at the scrimmage today?
Well, again, to your point, this is kind of a glorified 7-on-7, not exactly, but kind of a glorified 7-on-7. Obviously a little bit more contact. Some guys actually getting tackled, believe it or not. But a lot of passing, a lot of route concepts, a lot of things that they're doing with it. But I think, I mean, I'll go right to the big takeaway because we'll talk about some of the minor little appetizer stuff. But the big takeaway is Lincoln continues to look good. And this is coming from a guy that is firmly convinced that Julian Saint's going to be the guy come the fall. I'm still that would still be my wagering selection, but I got it from a really good source today, and who's not watching the practice videos or not watching anything that's on Twitter from OSU fan 2025. That said, hey Nevada, I just want you to know Lincoln continuing to really having a good time. And he's like, you may want to give him a second look because, I think a lot of people made up their mind on Lincoln based upon, the Cotton Bowl. And we all got to sit through the wonder that was that game. And, Lincoln's, the one thing you can't, look, he's from a small school, from a small state, not a big timer like Julian saying, not a 5-star kid, but he's been around for a while. And you see that all the time in like March Madness. You'll see these teams made up of these smaller schools with kids that are all fourth and fifth year seniors, and they've been around and they can play with the 18-year-old 5-star McDonald's All-Americans. And Lincoln's been here for a bit. He's been in the system for a few years now. He's taken live reps. He's gone through a lot of practice. He's sat there like he's an older kid, and he's having a really good spring. So I just wanted to start out by recognizing that. Um, and again, that's not based upon just today. That's not based upon just what happened today, but it continued on today. And he looked sharp and he's in command. And again, I still would be surprised to see him be the man. But hey, when little Bert Carton came out of high school, people weren't planting trees in the Grove and saying, "Oh, that guy's going to be an All-American and beat Michigan every time and get drafted in the NFL." So you just never know. You just never know. And Lincoln's looking good. So he's continued to ball out. The offensive line, so much depth. They're able to move guys all over the line. Josh Padilla splitting some first team reps, a lot of first team reps with Carson. Austin sitting out at right tackle, some sliding into guard. I mean, they're just moving guys up and down the line, and it just really speaks to the depth. It really speaks to how that has quickly become a team strength. Finished coming on the heels of last year's epic performance by the line, continuing to do it. We got a lot of options at the line, lots of good players, and lots of really good things happening there. And defensively, I like Logan George, what Logan George do, and I like Dominic Kirk's a freshman you probably haven't heard a lot about, but he's been flashing all spring. had another nice sack today. So, doing some good things. CJ Hicks continues to be a menace. And, that's really, that's really a good thing because, that's a guy that's a legit 5-star talent, NFL type of body. Question about was the clock running out? Were we able to ever be able to see him, do the things that we need him to do? I think they found on with him on this rush end, this wide nine, and yeah, just another great week. No major injuries, things going along smoothly, and looks like we've got two viable quarterbacks, but certainly one that to me was unexpected in Lincoln. That's continuing to have a strong outing, and that I think that's nothing but good news for Ohio State in 2025.
Yeah, I think that the scrimmage has a lot of promising things. I think that something that's different is that, I mean, the amount of rotation on the offensive line is something I've never seen. And I think a big part of it is just being honest, because again, I'm, pretty razor sharp when it comes to studying this stuff, is that, they want to keep these guys out of the portal. I mean, we got most teams don't have 8, 9 guys that can play. We do. So, in general, when you start 5, there's 4 guys out there that would start on 99% of the teams in the country. And so you got to give a guy like Josh Padilla some run with the ones, put him in there with the first team and see if he can run the show. And again, it's hard. Like when you're Carson Hinsman, man, it's like, God, he started as a freshman, saved our bacon last year. He still has 2 years left after winning a national title and being excellent last year. But you've got to rotate these guys and figure out the best combination. Is it Austin Sauerveld at right tackle? I mean, Ethan's going to be our left tackle. Barring injury. Again, there's no certainties in football because, guy sprains his ankle and misses 3 weeks of training camp. He might not start week 1. But if everything's healthy and everything's good to go, Ethan's our guy at left tackle. The rest of it, I'd bet a decent amount on Carson Hinsman just because he's been so productive when he's been in there, saved our bacon last year as a guard and a center. But it's just figuring out what's the best combination. I mean, do you put Luke Montgomery at left guard? Do you put Austin Sauerveld at left guard? Do you put Tegra at right guard? Do you put Sauerveld at right guard? I mean, do you put Josh Padilla at center and start Carson at one of the guards? And then at right tackle, Austin Sauerveld clearly can play it. Philip Daniels looks the part. Again, what it all comes down to, the 2 things that are going to make this offense make or break Brian Hartline's life is, can our tackles pass protect and can our quarterback get rid of the ball and just get it to the playmakers? Like, you don't need to be some sort of wizard. You don't need to be some, Dan Marino out there, throwing, bend it nines, like you're on a dot. You just have to get it to JJ, get to Milan. Again, these crossing routes that they're running, perfect for a young quarterback, right in front of their face. You've got guys that can run. I mean, they hit Milan Graham on one, they hit JJ on one. Nice, easy throw, short throw, get it to the guys in space, let them run. You don't have to do anything stupid. You don't have to do, everybody loves the deep shot, the deep ball, the low percentage passes they're great when you hit them. But like, you got a young quarterback and you got tackles that might not be able to hang in there and pass pro. You got to get rid of the ball. And I think that's a lot of the recognition of today when you watch the scrimmage and you see a lot of what was going on there. They took some shots. I mean, a couple 40-yard completion to Carnell right on the money from Lincoln. For a touchdown, great. But early in the season, man, when these tackles are getting their sea legs under them for pass protection, you got to get rid of the ball fast. And that's on the quarterbacks. Because again, I always tell people sacks, like when you give up a sack, there's a portion of it that's on the offensive line, there's a portion of it's on the quarterback, and a portion of it's on the play caller too. So again, you have to put all of it together and then see, okay, what part broke down? Was this a realistic deal? And again, I said last year when I was watching Dottie Jackson in his first career start at Penn State versus Abdul Carter, who's the best player in the country, I was like, we need to help him versus Abdul Carter. We play against some of these really good ends. There's no reason you shouldn't help. Don't let that guy beat you. And he, of course, he gets 2 sacks on us. And again, we win the game, and it was great, but it could have been a lot easier if we just took care of Abdul a little bit better. Donnie did good. I mean, honestly, he gave up 2 sacks, but he was pretty crispy in pass protection the rest of the way. But yeah, I mean, these scrimmages are great, but it's the 2 things that really can change the calculus is when you take the black jerseys off and the quarterbacks can run, like Will Howard could, and also actually having a running game. Because when you're in these situations where you're not tackling, the running backs aren't going to be a factor. So, I mean, they're going to be pass blocking a lot, which is great. I think that For Carlos Locke and his boys, they got to get a lot of reps of being in that six-man pass protection, picking up blitzes, hanging in there because it sucks. Like pass blocking when you got to block Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese and your James Peoples, like that is not fun. Sonny, especially Sonny when he's 6'5" and has pterodactyl wingspan and arms, like dude, it's just tough. I mean, he outreaches all of our running backs. So if he wants to bull rush, it's going to be a rough day. So, but without having a running game, it puts a lot of stress on the offensive tackles, a lot of stress on the offensive line. Because when they get to run the ball, they get to be the hammer instead of when pass protection when they're the nail. So it's not fun when it's third and long every single snap, but it's good work. I just don't think it's realistic work. So I take everything with a grain of salt when I see what the type of scrimmage this is. And plus, like I said, when it's open to the world, these coaches know that they hold everything. They don't want the world to see, they don't want any sort of Texas Longhorn, geniuses to be able to see this. Cause again, you got to remember Texas is our first game. So they're looking for any ounce of juice that they can get on what we could potentially be running with Matt Patricia across the internet. So they'll be watching all these film clips that are on there and seeing if we're doing anything different from the level that they can see it. But like I said, I'm excited. I'm excited for the team. I'm excited for the depth. I'm really excited for CJ Hicks, man. He's a great kid. And like now that he's got this incredible elite twitchiness, he's got a really nasty edge to him because again, he's heard the bust rumors and he's heard the kind of the what's people have said about him. And now that he's in the position that he really wants to play where he could be excellent at it, I'm just really excited about him because I think he's going to end up being our best pass rusher this year. And I don't really think it's going to be close. I just think with his burst and speed, and as he develops a move and a second move, his first move seems to be the long arm bull rush to speed. He wants to get around that edge, but I mean, having that long arm bull rush is really good. But I'm really excited to see what he can do. Nevada, who are some guys that you have heard a lot about, and who are you excited to hear about this last week of spring ball as we wrap up spring football?
Well, it's funny because you know I thought we'd be talking a lot about the offensive line, but I didn't think we'd be talking about it, with this amount of depth. But we've spent enough time on those guys talking about how good that is, and how that position's kind of evolved. So for me, it's really, I want to hear more about the run. I want to hear about C.J. Donaldson and James Peoples. We talked about how the running game in a situation like today, non-existent, not bringing guys down to the ground. So I think we've got a lot of question marks about the running game right now. We've seen flashes, we've heard flashes about guys in practice, but I want to hear more about that. I want to have some answers on the running back spots, and I think for CJ and James, I think a lot of is expected because James really looked good last year. CJ's got a lot of great tape, but then you've got a fabulous freshman like Bo Jackson coming off the injury, but not a guy that could hit the field right away and take off and never look back. So I just lingering effects of that. Really, I'm looking for a little bit more clarity out of the running back position, and I'm liking what I'm hearing about out of the linebackers. I think the linebacker room, James Laurinaitis, when they were kind of going back and forth with were they going to hire him, were they not going to hire him? He'd been auditioning. Was he ever going to get that full time coaching position? And there was a lot of people having questions about that. And he came in, and now all of a sudden, much like the way that the offensive line room has become a team strength, the linebacker room is now a team strength as well. And so, hearing about guys out there, the Arvell Reeses and the Riley Pettijohns and the guys, obviously you've got Sonny Styles, who is, future NFL player, future combine invite. But James is doing a really nice job with the other guys in the room, bringing along the linebackers. I think that, the defensive backfield is going to be a strength. But I want to hear more about some of the other young linebackers, and I want to hear about our punter. Punters never matter until they matter, and I'm not sure who's exactly kind of locked it down from from a special team standpoint. I mean, the one criticism that I would give of Ryan Danny, and we always try to be fair on the show, with our praise, with our observations. Um, we spend very little time on special teams, very little time, and now and I realize those plays are being slowly but surely kind of taken out by rule and by technique and other things from the thing. So so maybe it's proper, given that you've only got a finite amount of time to practice them, but we don't practice a lot on special teams, and maybe that's why our special teams are just kind of ordinary. We used to have, some of those extraordinary moments that we'd get from special teams play. We don't seem to get that much anymore. You almost wonder if that's just a byproduct of the fact that you've got limitations. You can only practice so much. You can only work on so many different things. And with the way that they've got the sky kicks on on punting, on kickoff returns, all the kickers have got such big legs, or they're moving it so back, and with the rules on fair catches, maybe it's by design. Maybe they just don't see the opportunity for special plays the way that a Jim Tressel would. But that's the one observation I make is the amount of time I've never seen an Ohio State team spend less time on special teams than this team does. But maybe that's part of maybe that's part of the plan. But it's certainly something to keep an eye on as we get into the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's something, special teams. I always would try to get young kids, young players, freshmen, maybe sophomores that weren't in the mix to start excited about special teams. Some of my guys, like if you really, I sit in the staff meetings. Like I'm not like the players, and this is when I was on staff. I'm like something that is a quick way to like that kid that kinder to start that flame. You strike that match and you throw it on the ground and light it is special teams. Like if a kid is excited to play special teams, it is like a narcotic to coaches, especially defensive coaches. Luke Fickle hated some of the guys that were on the team when he was a defensive coordinator because they acted like they were too good to play special teams, and there'd be guys that were like tight ends that were like 6'4", 235, 240, good, ran 4.6, good athletes, but they were too soft to play special teams, or they didn't act like they're interested, or they didn't go hard in the drills. And Luke would kill those guys. And again, and I got it, because I'm telling you, man, especially now that you're down to 105 roster, you need every single guy to try to get on a special team and take the weight off the starters. Because again, one of my pet peeves, and this is something that we still do, and again, it's fine because it is important, and Jim Tressel did it. Jim Tressel would have AJ Hawk and Bobby Carpenter and Mike Kudla and our frontline All-American type dudes on special teams. And I'd be like, we've got 85 guys on scholarship, and our guys that have to play every snap on defense have to play special teams too. Because I always, and again, it's not like it's grunt work or it's B work or whatever. It's just something where, young guys that are on scholarship should be out there doing that. Like, I mean, I don't want AJ Hawk on punt. Now again, AJ didn't complain about it. Bobby didn't complain about it. Those guys were war daddies, tough as nails, great players. But I don't want those guys out there covering a punt when they're seniors, when we've got all these freshman linebackers and freshman tight ends and receivers and, defensive ends that are light enough to play in those roles. Like, I think that they should be taking those things. Because again, I think that that's the appropriate kind of course to getting on the field. James Laurinaitis was really good on special teams his freshman year. And a lot of those guys, they really start making their mark. Is again, the greatest clip ever, one of the most underrated, but one of my favorite Ohio State clips of all time was Ezekiel Elliott running down on kickoff versus Purdue. Ezekiel Elliott is a top 5 running back, and, I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, but I mean, at Ohio State, he's one of, if there's a Mount Rushmore of Ohio State running backs, Ezekiel is on it. I'm sorry, he's that good. But as a freshman, he's running down on kickoff and splitting guys. And again, that's what I love about Zeke. He didn't care. I mean, this is a 4-star kid, should have been a 5-star, best running back in the country per our evaluations. Because again, that was when all of the geniuses at Rivals and 247, that Derek Green, who is a really nice kid. I really liked Derek, and he was a big Ohio State fan. But we watched their tape versus Zeke, and like they're just, he didn't have that 6 gear that Zeke had, and Zeke was a hurdler. And we watched the tape, and I was like, yeah, I think we're right. We'll trust our evaluation over the gurus, 247 and Rivals guys. And we were right. And Ezekiel turned out to be fantastic and won a national title. And Derek Green never played. And again, Derek was a nice kid. Went to Curtis Grants High School. But I think that special teams is something, you got to make an emphasis. And obviously, I played for Trust, who was the king of special teams and loved it. And I liked that. I mean, I liked, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and there's field position and punt's the most important play of football. I was like, hey, if you say it and you're the guy who's making $5 million a year as a head coach back then it is going to be the most important play of football. We're all going to, whatever you're laying down, we're picking up because that's what it takes when you're on a team led by a guy that makes it important. But we used to block kicks all the time, and that was something that Trust loved. Is he'd get Mike Doss or some of these guys. He'd identify the guys that were really good at getting their hand on the football in a punt rush situation. Because when you do a punt rush, you it's not like everyone's trying to block the punt. They scheme the whole thing up for there's one guy who has the shot to get there and do it. And when you got a guy like Doss who was the king of it, I mean, it's a game changer, man. I love we'd block punts, man. It's like the greatest thing in the world. So. Nevada, any other thoughts on the scrimmage? Again, good work. No major injuries. Quincy Porter lost his black stripe. CJ Sana, shout out Olentangy High School, my home district, is now a Buckeye. He committed yesterday as well, so really good momentum. But any other thoughts, and we'll get into some super chats.
Well, no. So you called AJ Hawk soft for not wanting to play special teams? Is that with the quote that we want to put out on the internet today? Barton calls AJ Hawk soft.
He never turned any of it down.
I'm just
like, well, I mean, like, but
this is how the internet.
It would piss me off. I'm like, we have all Americans out here on punt, and I'm like, we've got 50 linebackers, and those guys can't take those guys off the field for one play. Now again, I get that after the punt, or after whatever. They're coming off a break when the offense is on the field. But I'm like, it was like when I was on field goal. Like I was on field goal. And field goal, for those of you guys that have never been an offensive lineman before, field goal is the worst thing in the world to be on. It's Suicide Squad. You go out there, I blew my knee out on it. I hated it. And I was like, we've got 20 offensive linemen in this room. Why are our starting tackles on field goal? Put the backups in. Like these guys are all on scholarship too. These guys all get sweatsuits too. I mean, these guys are all on the trip, and I know that they just want to, eat, ride the bus, and watch the game. But like, put them out on something, Especially after I hurt my knee, and then we lost that game. I was like, put a backup out there. And again, that's just me. Now in the NFL, you can't do that. You only got 7 guys up. But in the NFL, a lot of times they'll take the starting left tackle out of field goal and put the other guys in, and they'll put a backup D tackle out there or whatever. But I don't know. But yeah, that was a pet peeve of mine, and it's fine. It's just me. But, when you've got 85 scholarships, man, the NFL, you only dress 45 guys on game day. When you look at Ohio State style, there's 120 guys standing there. Now there's going to be 105, but there's still a lot of guys that don't do anything the whole game that should be out there doing something. Any other thoughts before I eviscerate you again?
Now, yeah, well, eviscerate AJ Hawk. AJ, I'd like to apologize to you, AJ, on behalf of my partner here. We don't think you're soft. Please don't put that on the internet. Please don't be mad. And Mr. Barton really does. I used to love having the Chris Olave blocking the punt against Michigan as a freshman and doing some of that stuff. I always thought that those guys that flashed on special teams were certainly guys that had good careers ahead of them. I remember what Bobby Carpenter coming down his first play and making a tackle on the kickoff, and went on to become a terrific player. But I love special teams play, but it is so. I just find it so profound for a guy like Ryan Day, who's so smart, clearly high functioning, master of offensive tactics and things, but they really just don't put that much emphasis on special teams. And it's kind of confounding why that is, but that's where it is. But no, great 3 weeks of Ohio State spring football so far. Unbelievable recruiting momentum, and just things are going really well around the program right now. No drama, not like the Rivals podcast site. We have no drama here on Buckeye Scoop, and life is good.
Yeah, and again, I'll make one comment on that, because me and you both talked to Berm yesterday. Berm's always been a stand-up guy. He's always stayed above the fray, but let the legal process shake out, for the love of God. As people that have been on the wrong side of, completely made up, dishonest allegations, like, come on, guys. Like, be smarter than what the dumbest people in the world are running with. Like, they took money from Caleb Downs or something. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Nevada, you have any thoughts on that? And we can move on to the super chats.
Yeah, I have no idea the validity of anything. I just think that at least getting the facts before you make any judgment is probably good. Whatever the facts are, whatever I have no inside information on what the facts are, but whatever they are, I think. But let them come out first, and then make your judgment. And I got a Hall of Fame question for you, real quick. You mentioned Ezekiel in the Hall of Fame, and so it got me thinking about this, which is completely off topic. But so I'm only going to take 5 seconds. Dwight Howard, NBA Hall of Fame, yes or no?
Oh, without question.
Do you think
Not
so?
even. Oh my
Career,
God.
career 15 and 11 guy, and he's the Hall of Fame man. I don't get
With,
it. I don't know.
I
I had
mean, how
four-time
many times
defensive
does
player
he?
of the
How
year.
many times?
Four
I mean,
time,
four-time defensive player of the year is pretty good.
yeah, that's pretty
I mean,
good.
how
Four
many times
time.
was the All NBA?
Don't
I mean,
don't
I would
know,
think.
but
I mean,
15 and 11 though. 15 and 11. I don't know.
well, I mean, is Mutombo in? What did Mutombo? I mean,
No,
that's kind of what
no,
he's like.
Mutombo's not in it. Mutombo killed a line with a spear one time though.
I mean, that's realistic. I mean,
That
he
did
won an
happen.
NBA title, 8-time All Star. I mean, but he was a monster on defense, rebounder. I don't know, I mean, is Draymond gonna get in? Your boy, the defensive player of the year in the NBA,
Oh my gosh. Uh,
Draymond
did
Green.
did you see the stat? Like the stat before Wemby went down, they had the top 10 guys, and Draymond was not even in the top 10, and now he's the betting favorite.
Yeah, and it's getting the margin's getting wider too. For those of
It's
you that don't
crazy.
know, Evan Nevada Mobley Buck is Team Evan Mobley, and again, I totally agree with him because Evan Mobley's one of the greatest defensive players of all time at this point.
No,
seven
yeah,
foot
yeah, no,
tall,
he really, yeah, yeah.
can guard a point guard, can guard Iverson, can guard Shaq, can guard anybody. But he was clearly the best defensive player. But then Draymond started this campaign where all of a sudden he's now the betting favorite, which is weird. Because he has a bonus in his contract, and I think he needs to sharpen up his resume to get into the Hall of Fame. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's pretty good. I mean, he was All NBA. I mean, he was first team All NBA 5 times. That's really hard to do. You're the best. That means you're the best center in the league for 5 straight years. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Mutombo's really not in the Hall of Fame.
I don't think he is.
Really?
I don't know. I got to be honest with you. I don't follow the
No,
NBA Hall of Fame too much. I don't even. I don't.
he's in the Hall of Fame.
Is he really? I don't even know where it
Yeah,
is. Is that in Springfield,
2015.
Massachusetts?
I don't know why I thought it was in New York. Yeah,
Oh,
but like Mutombo he was never All NBA a single time, not once. He was a 4-time
okay.
Defensive Player of the Year.
It-
And again, I don't think he was some sort of offensive dynamo, but he could block shots, obviously. So
he could block shot. Yeah, he's a one trick pony. But yeah, so Matumbo's
yeah,
in there. The Dwight Howard absolutely has to be in there
yeah.
for sure.
I mean, career. So you're talking about 50. I mean, Mutombo averaged 9.8 points per game and 10
I know. Well,
rebounds.
I think that's
So
silly
I
that he's in
mean,
the Hall of Fame. I mean,
I
that's like
mean,
the Hall of Ordinary, the Hall of whatever.
yeah, but they probably give him something for being from the Congo, and how again, nobody knows more about African basketball than you because you bet on it all the time, and you're like South Sudan
I
is like
do.
the meta, so it's
I
like
do. I I do
he
do
was kind
that.
of one of the pioneers of the sport. Again, do his numbers warrant it? I mean, he's 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know. So, well, we better get back to Ohio State before everyone glazes over, but but sorry. I mean, this is, if you guys don't know what's inside of Kirk and Nevada's minds, it's stuff like this, where it's just like random flying off the cliff talking about Dikembe Mutombo being in the Hall of Fame. God rest his soul. All right, super chat time. Appreciate you guys being a huge part of what we do. Let me toss this up on the screen. All right, RJ, appreciate you, my dude. Rangit Story. Make sure you guys follow his Pink Floyd piano cover YouTube. It's excellent. Make sure you check it out. Another brick in the wall is always excellent. Which of the Buckeyes' several true freshmen do you think will make the biggest impact on the field this season, and why? Nevada OH.
Oh,
I'll let you go first, and then I'll bring up some names.
that's a good question. If
Do
you're
you,
asking for
do you want me to go?
true freshmen, Yeah, you go. I'm gonna let you go first because I want to be
Okay.
thoughtful with my answer. I want to go through my notes and be thoughtful with my answer.
Okay. So, I mean, one that would be easy, but I just don't know if there's going to be enough footballs to go around is Quincy Porter, who lost his black strip today. He has been an absolute unit. But again, when you've got Brandon Ennis and Mylan Graham as your number three, one and or 3A and 3B, that's tough. I mean, you're at best the fifth guy. You still got Bryson Rogers there. Quincy could do some work. I think that Bo Jackson is a dark horse just because if either of the top two running backs gets nicked up at all, which can happen, all of a sudden he's the number two. And, Carlos Loughlin likes to rotate his guys a lot, which is necessary. But I mean, the guy who's the obvious answer is Devin Sanchez, who's already running with the first team as a high school early enrollee freshman. So he is a beast. And I think it's going to be hard to keep him out of being the nickel or whatever. Because the thing about him is he's huge too. So, I mean, like, you play him at nickel, it's like you have a third linebacker in there and he's big and he is not scared to knock somebody out. So I think Devin Sanchez has got to be again, just not trying to, tell people something they don't know because he's the number one player in the country, but that's the guy you're going to hear his name a lot. And I imagine he'll switch to number 6 when Sonny Sal's gets the block O. So just throwing that out there. Yeah. Anyone you'd like to add, Nevada?
I mean, I'm going to throw Riley Pettijohn out there because I like Riley Pettijohn a lot. I'm glad you mentioned Bo Jackson because I think I mean, obviously Devin Sanchez is the chalky pick. Um, I like Phillip Bell. I just think Phillip Bell's going to have kind of a Chris Olave type of trajectory, and not just because he's from the same neck of the woods. But Phillip Bell, I've gotten to kind of know that story pretty good, and he's a kid you really should be rooting for, man, because he's had a tough upbringing, man. Nothing's been easy for that kid, and certainly a guy that I'm rooting for. But and I'll throw Jarquez Carter out there too. That'll be my other pick.
That's a great pick. I'd love to see him pass rush for us a little bit. Ben G, thank you for being an ultra member. Thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. Might be ironic, but do we see more of the jack position without Knowles? Seems like Kenyatta gives you more stand-up flexibility with his frame and toolbox than recent edges. Good take or bad take? I think it's a fantastic take, and I think that the guy, I don't think it's Kenyatta, I think it's CJ. I think CJ Hicks, who's already played linebacker, and a jack is kind of it's a linebacker, and I think that that's why Jack Sawyer, who I love to death, was a poor fit for it because he's never played linebacker. He's always been a defensive end. So when you have to make an end learn how to play linebacker and fit the run and pass drop, I don't think it's as natural as CJ, who's been playing linebacker for 3 years, not to mention his whole high school career. So I think CJ is the guy who gives you that flexibility of a guy that can walk around. I think Kenyatta, where you put Kenyatta, in my mind, in pass rushing situations, is inside. And they've done that some this spring where they put him inside over the guard because Kenyatta's 6'6". So again, if he doesn't get to the quarterback to sack him, get his hands up. I mean, you're 6'6", dude. I mean, you can deflect balls. And again, even if they just know you've got that length, the arm span that he has, it's going to affect the quarterback's throwing just because that, hey, this guy likes to deflect balls. Again, as soon as the hand comes off the ball, the quarterback, the hands go up. And even if you don't get a piece of the ball, it's going to change his trajectory, especially if it's a crossing route or like a low, obviously a lower ball. If you start a deep shot, it's not going to do anything. He's going to throw it way over it. But if it's a crossing route, you got a shot to knock the ball down or affect the throw, which again, I think that's just as effective as knocking the quarterback down if you disrupt his timing or, he's got to do a double clutch because he sees your hands go up. Just something to think about. So, yeah, I think that CJ is the guy that gives him the flexibility to do it because he's already played linebacker. I think that it's a lot easier when a linebacker moves to edge to play him at jack than it is to have like Jack Sawyer move back to linebacker, because you're getting a bigger body trying to play a smaller body position, a bigger body trying to go play linebacker, as opposed to CJ, who's a smaller body going up to play edge, but he can still keep a lot of the stuff that he learned from linebacker to play the jacks. Again, I just thought the problem with the jack, with the way we ran it with Jim Knowles the first year, was we just didn't run it enough. And it's something where if you don't get a lot of reps of it and you only run it 5 or 6 times a game, the guys could never get comfortable doing it. And Jack Sawyer never looked comfortable doing it. Tried to do it again. It looked real sexy when it came here, and the way he ran at Oklahoma State, I thought was really good. I was really excited about it, but we just, when we had 4 really good defensive linemen, it's hard to take one and make him a jack when he's not real comfortable doing it. So, Nevada, your thoughts again? Ben G, appreciate you, my dude. Thanks for the 10. Says might be ironic, but do we see more of the jack position without Jim Knowles? Seems like Kenyatta gives you more stand-up flexibility with his frame and toolbox than recent edges. Good take or bad take? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think another guy is Sonny Styles. I think Sonny Styles, they could kind of walk into that spot as well. And what people have to remember is that the defensive end position is going to look completely different this year for Ohio State than it has in the recent past because they're playing that wide nine, and that wide nine means they're playing those guys out a little bit wider, kind of like a traditional NFL team type of defensive end. So it's presenting different kinds of opportunities and challenges for the defensive line, but for guys like Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson, it's letting them get off a little bit more. So I think we're going to have to evaluate this a little bit differently because the defensive end spot, it's not the same spot as it was last year or 2 years ago. It, it's an absolutely it's the same name, but they're playing it differently, and it'll be interesting to see who's able to shine, who's able to step forward in that, who's able to create that consistent pressure, and then how do we support the run, and how do we have a run gap fills on that when you've got guys coming up from a wide and from an angle like that. So I think that's going to be one of the really interesting things to watch into the fall.
Totally agree. Harash Shirasami, appreciate you. Thanks for the 5. What did you hear about Julian Saint's performance? Also heard the DBs had a great day. I mean, Julian was okay. It was fine. Again, I mean, everyone that was there said Lincoln was a little better, but guys, I can't stress enough. It's spring football. The quarterbacks aren't live. There's no running game. It's just kind of like you're evaluating like a third of the pie at this point, and you don't know how the rest of it's going to look. So there's a long time to go before you're going to get to the point. And honestly, like, to be real, I love that Lincoln is looking great and he's in this, and it's a real because honestly, I think the worst scenario would be if Julian was just looking amazing right now, and then Lincoln is like, well, this competition's over, and I'm going to hit the portal. Like, I think that'd be a terrible scenario for Ohio State because Lincoln's got a lot of leverage right now because we need him to stay for this season. You don't want to have Tavian St. Clair as your backup. If something happens, you've got all this talent. You got to rely on a 18-year-old freshman. I mean, that's could be devastating. I love the way everything's trajectorying. I love the trajectory of everything right now. I love that this is a real competition. I love that it's close. I think that keeps these guys both on campus for this fall. And I think that, again, that's great. Again, like, make it a tight competition. And if they got to play both at the beginning of the year, so be it. I'm good with it. Kind of like with Kyle McCord and Devin Brown. Obviously, I want the play to be better than that, but I want these guys to both be here in September. So I like how everything's working right now. But Julian's had his moments. Again, he hit some nice crossing routes today too. I was watching the tape, and he can get. I mean, he gets rid of that ball fast now. I mean, he's got. It's just wicked how quick it gets out of his hand, and that's going to be huge, especially if our tackles aren't holding up in pass pro. Nevada, your thoughts on Julian Saint's performance? And I also heard that the DBs had a great day. What say you?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got really talented defensive backs, and so yeah, they make a lot of plays. They get to a lot of balls. I think Julian was good, but I agree. I mean, like, the ideal situation for Ohio State, if you said what is the highest and best use for Ohio State for everybody, it's for Lincoln to have a really good spring. One, it motivates Julian that much more. It keeps Lincoln around. It gives us a couple of different bites at the apple, come fall for your starting quarterback. It gives you a viable backup. I mean, there's everything that could be good about that is good. So nothing pleases me more than to hear that, because I didn't hear from anybody that Julian was bad. I sort of think Lincoln was really good, and that pleases me. And I hope that continues, next week and over the summer and into fall camp, because I don't think there's anything bad can come out of both those guys, balling and competing and really kind of raising the level of play for both of them.
All right, Ravia Tube, thank you for the 5. Nevadabuck, any info on what's going on with Austin Ward and Jeremy Birmingham on a competing site? Something to do with stealing Caleb Downs' lunch. Nevada, I'll let you go first on that.
Yeah, it's just, they are here's what I can tell you. That is the allegation, and they were fired with cause from their site. They are both saying that that that's not true, and that they can prove that it's not true, and that they just need to have the opportunity to prove that it's not true. But it's, you know, so that's where we have two stories. And could the truth be somewhere in the middle? Could there be a little bit of this and a little bit of that, or could there be one bad actor and the other one? I mean, look, I know Berm. So if you ask me, gun to my head, do I think Berm was involved in this? I don't think he was. I think he probably edited the video, or shot it, or whatever it was. But um, I've always had a low opinion of Austin Ward, just because I have a low opinion of Austin Ward, and I have a better opinion of Berm. But to be fair, I don't know all the facts. But I would just caution everybody on all this stuff. Um, let's just let the facts come out, and when they do, people can see the truth, and the truth will set everybody free. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and if you guys, I mean, the whole thing is now online, like the whole case is online now, so you guys can read it. It's something about advertising opportunities, and they didn't get approval from the media thing or whatever. Again, I don't really care. Again, I feel terrible for Berm, because I think Berm's a stand-up guy. He's always stayed above the fray, whatever. So I feel terrible for Berm, and we both reached out to him, and he wrote a nice note on his site thanking us for reaching out to him. But again, this doesn't concern us. The one thing I will say is that let the proceedings play out before you make judgments, because as two people that have been in the crosshairs of morons, I've lived this, and it's not fun when you can't defend yourself, because legally you're not supposed to say anything. So I've lived it, but we won. And like I always say from The Wire, if you come for the king, you best not miss, because uh, they missed pretty bad, and we ended up winning. So it was a great day. So, but give these guys some leniency, and don't. The biggest thing you need to learn from this is a lot of the same idiots that claimed we'd done stuff are the same idiots that are claiming that Berm and Austin Ward did stuff. So again, it's none of our business, and whatever. But let the proceedings play out, and then they'll play out, and then they'll either have done something or not. So it'll be interesting. But again, I hate that Berm's going through this, because he's always been a stand-up dude. RavyTube, thank you for the 20. Most high school QB recruits struggle to win the job. Why not just bring in a third-year transfer QB all the time? It seems like a waste of NIL to be recruiting so-called five-star QBs anymore. That is a great point. Nevada, I'll let you go first on this one. I mean, and it seems like a lot of schools are doing it. They're getting a transfer guy every year. But I mean, what are the pluses and minuses to doing that?
Well, I mean, the pluses are that you get a game ready guy like a Will Howard, or Justin, or Justin Fields, less so. I mean, it's supremely talented, but not as tested as Will. Um, the bad news is generally these guys are 1 year and gone. You're out of the quarterback position. You're not generally getting multi-year transfer portal players, and for a quarterback position, where Ryan is, such a quarterback whisperer, such a development guy. Having guys for multiple years, you guys can make really big, jumps. And so, would you rather? And the third risk is, what if there's not a, if say you go all in on that, we're like, we're just going in, we're gonna be portal, we're gonna be the portal guys. We get a portal quarterback every year. What if there's not a great portal quarterback? Then what do you do? Because then you've chased away all the guys in your quarterback room that are worth a darn, because you said, hey, you're not going to play, we're just going to recruit over you every year. And if there's, what if you end up with some guy from Tulane, or North Dakota State or something like that, that's playing what you want. So it's kind of risky both ways. like you said, some schools are embracing it full time and really kind of going after it. You know, at the end of the day, I like Ryan's thing, which is I'm going to recruit the best in the portal, and I'm going to recruit the best out of high school and let the best guys win. And I think that's probably the right approach, and certainly the approach that we're taking in 2025.
Yeah, I think that it's really tough because you have it's hard because the quarterback is the de facto leader of your team. So to have the new leader coming in for like 1 year at a time, like a Cam Ward or a Will Howard or whatever, I think it's hard to consistently build a culture. Now, granted, if you had a grand slam like with Will Howard, if I could clone Will Howard and have a Will Howard, a new cyborg Will Howard come in every year to do it, I do it in a heartbeat. I just don't think there's many quarterbacks that are built like that kid who can come in and it's like the throw him to the wolf pack and he comes back leading the pack. Like that's Will Howard. So I just think that you've got to really, you know, teach a guy what you want. If he's got the traits that you want, development again with Ryan, the way he develops quarterbacks, like to have him for multiple years, really know the offense, really grow. I think that's the meta. I really do. And again, he's a guy that's Ryan's gonna have 3 second-round quarterbacks this year with Quinn Ewers and Kyle McCord and Will Howard, all likely to go in the second round. But I don't know. I mean, it's you gotta keep recruiting and developing too. You know, I mean, Julian Sand was kind of a different type of transfer because he was only at Alabama for a couple of weeks. It wasn't like he was there for 4 years and came here. So I don't even know if that really counts. It does, but I mean, does it really? He's not like a traditional guy who's played a bunch and we take him. But I think the hardest part with the quarterback, like I said, is it's the leadership. I mean, your quarterback has got to be the leader of the team, or you have no chance. And I think that you could do it at left tackle because I'm the biggest advocate in the world of I would take 2 transfer portal offensive linemen every year going forward, guys that can play, guys from like a Minnesota, like Philip Daniels or Rice, like Ethan Onyanwa, because you could get your left tackle and your center or your 2 tackles. And then the other 3 spots you can fill in with guys you recruit. I think that that's the perfect way to do it, and we've been real productive doing that. But quarterbacks is different, man, because your left tackle needs to be a leader, but your quarterback like has got to be the leader, and there's a difference. So, but I see what you're saying. And Ryan's been very active in the portal. I don't think he'll be this cycle because he's got 2 good quarterbacks, but he is not going to settle for less than excellent quarterback play. Dan Walsh, 6 for the 5. This should be an ultra member as well. Michigan is going to be a huge crater in the earth for 10 years, and I'm here for it. Nevada OH. I'm with you, man. I just think that the more that we hear about this stuff, it's just like, good God. But it takes time. I mean, when you've got all these images and videos to go through and tickets and, people are like, when's the hammer coming? I'm like, well, look at all the data they have to go through, all the evidence, all the video. It's like, it takes a long time to go through all that. I mean, like the Matt Weiss thing took 2 years, and he had terabyte after terabyte of videos and photos, and it takes a long time. So it's going to leave it at that. Nevada, your thoughts? Dan Walsh says Michigan's going to have a huge crater. It's going to be a huge crater in the earth for 10 years. He's here for it. I agree. Your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, for sure. And look, there's an enforcement process that's laid out by the bylaws. They have to follow it. If they don't follow it, they leave themselves open for legal appeal that, hey, you didn't follow your own rules. But so that's literally all we're going through right now. It's just an enforcement process that's all public. It's all on a public dashboard. You can follow along and see. And Michigan's right in the crosshairs for sure.
RJ, sorry. Thank you for the 10. Question for Nevada about the Basketball Africa League. Oh, this is great. For upcoming game of Stade Malayan, which is Mali, versus Al Ittihad Egypt, whom are you taking straight up? I'll be betting 1 month's salary, please. Nevada, you don't ever bet anything unless it's live, right? I mean, we're live betting kings.
Well, no, I'm a live betting king for sure, but I'd have to research those 2 teams. But I will research and get back to you. But South Sudan is like, I
Yeah.
mean, I couldn't believe that one time. There was one time I was getting them, and it was like, I mean, South Sudan's really good. I mean, South Sudan took like the modern dream team and had them beat, and almost beat them before the world. So Yeah, no, there's lots of good teams in every, but I will research those two teams and get back to you with an educated scouting report.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Victor Oladipo. I can't remember who it is who's like the head of South Sudan basketball. It's a former NBA guy, and like they're impossibly good. I mean, because they obviously tremendously athletic, but they've got um this is gonna drive me nuts if I don't get this. The head of it. Royal Ivy's the coach, but one of the recent star NBA players has like made a big investment in the league, and it's I mean they're Luol Deng, that's who it is. Sorry, played for the Cavs, played in the NBA for a long time, but he played like 15 years in the NBA, but he's the guy that's kind of driving that thing, and like you said, they gave the modern dream team with Steph Curry and LeBron all they could handle. So it's cool. All right, Harish Chisami, thanks for the deuce. Appreciate you, my dude. Hartford and McLean, who do you think starts? I think that they're both going to play a lot. So I don't know if it's going to be a starter situation or if it's going to be like a Jermaine Matthews rotating in a corner with Davison and Denzel. I think it's going to be more like that. Blake Hartford had a nice day today, though. I mean, he was making some plays out there, and he's got the single digit now, so he's doing good in the classroom and in the weight room to give him that number 9. Which I think he actually took that right off Jaden Ballard's back. I think as soon as Jaden Ballard transferred, he put 9 on for the Tennessee game. So, but I really like Malik Hartford. He's a thumper and a beast. They're two very different players, but they're two very good players. And again, it's a testament to OG Walt and Matt Guerrieri and these guys that are back there because our secondary is as good as we've ever had. So I think that they'll both play a lot. Nevada, any thoughts? Malik Hartford versus Jalen McLean?
Yeah, like you said, both start. I mean, if you ask me who do I think slightly better, Hartford's an absolute freaking stud, but
Yeah.
that is not a diss on McLean because I love McLean as well. I agree. They're both going to play a lot and kind of different positions back there, rotate them around, and they'll both do good things.
Yeah, and that's a great question. And like that's the question. Like I love questions like that because we can kind of talk about like the differences and what we like in both of them. But I don't think the coaches know. So it's hard for Nevada to know when the coaches don't know yet. They don't know who the starter is going to be, and it'll be competitive during camp. And like I said, it's a lot of it is just playing well. A lot of it's luck, man, because you have to stay healthy. You sprain an ankle or pull a hamstring or something, and then you fall behind. And I've seen guys lose the job just because they weren't out there. So can't make the club in the tub. Something I love. Beth and Karis Washington, thank you for being an ultra member. Thanks for the deuce as well. Meetup location at Nevada OH. Getting it finalized, but you guys should know very quickly here. So I'll leave it at that and love you guys to death. But you guys will be very happy. So I appreciate you. All right, Nevada, let's wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, just another good day of spring ball. Another good day. We have some recruiting stuff coming, perking. So stay close to the website because we could have some 5-star action breaking shortly. But no, Lincoln had another good day. Lots of good things in spring football. But the Ohio State football program continues to crank along. Great momentum and another great day today.
Fantastic day as always. I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you guys are having a great Saturday. But yeah, love you guys to death. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. March Madness is about to tip off pretty quick here. I want to get this thing knocked out, but I appreciate you guys that are on here live. Hope you guys are having a great day. With that being said, if you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Leave us a comment. Let us know where should we do the next meetup at and when, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, but I think we got it pretty close to being hammered out. But I just love you guys so much. Again, the show's been going crazy. If you want to help me, and I say this every show, but tonight's tonight, you can do it nice and easy. Get on Apple Podcasts, type in Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe. It's all you got to do. It takes 8 seconds to do. Humongous help for the show to do that on Apple Podcasts. But we appreciate you guys so very much. So make sure you guys shout out where you guys are watching from and shout out who you guys are watching with. Again, happy Saturday, March Madness, UFC card, loaded up night of sports. It's going to be great. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Go Bucks.